Elaine, to the Zoom room for another Art of Letting Go live session. Let's jump straight into today's email and a quote from Eckhart Tolle, which will lead us nicely into today's theme about what is the matrix and our workbook lesson, which is all about meaning again and purpose. Okay, so let me just share my screen with you. You can read the quote. That'd be great. Okay, there you go. So if you can read the quote for me from Eckhart Tolle. Is that big enough?
Yeah. What will be left of all the fearing and wanting associated with your problematic life situation that every day takes up most of your attention? A dash 1 or 2 inches long between the date of birth and date of death on your gravestone. To the egoic self, this is depressing thought, but to you, it is liberating. Yeah. So yes, you'll know which thought system you're in if you're affected by that.
Yeah, exactly. The date of birth and the date of death. So if you go to a graveyard and you actually look at exactly that dash, you think the entire life of that person is just in that dash. That's it. All of the drama, all of the suffering, all of the desires, hopes, fears, their entire self-concept. Where is it now? Who was that person? No one now, unless they were famous, and there's very few of those, knows anything about them. 200 years ago, 300 years ago, you go to graveyard, some person called whoever, John Smith, have no idea who that person was, what happened in their life, what dramas they had to deal with, their hopes, their fears, their dreams, all of it's gone. And as he says, that to the ego, that's depressing. Well, so what's the point of it all then? But to you, the real you, it's liberating. Like, well, none of these fears and desires and expectations and problems really mean anything. Clearly, that this demonstrates it so clearly. It's all gone. None of it's permanent. None of it's real. So why do we spend our lives desiring and fearing when these movements of the egoic mind and its desires and fears are so impermanent? And they're all just going to come to nothing anyway. So ask yourself this question. Why do I desire or fear anything when these movements of the egoic mind, what desires or fears, are so impermanent? And then, will anything I'm fearing or anticipating right now matter at all in 100 or even 10 years? Probably not. None of it actually will matter. The answer is obvious. So this kind of questioning is yet another powerful way to let go of your attachments to the people, things, and events of the world and free your mind. Now I gave you these two recordings from the Matrix. These are
yes, yeah,
short videos about the hero's journey of awakening. The first one is about Neo's journey, which is a classic hero's journey, which is really about the journey of awakening to the truth that the world isn't real. The world is an illusion, and this one man's coming to grips with that, struggling with it, coming to grips with it, and finally returning to the Matrix at the end of the movie as the awakened one who now has a power and a capacity that was unimaginable to him in his previously unawakened state. So definitely worth watching and listening to again if you haven't.
I have, yeah, watched it again this morning.
Did you? Good. Okay, good. Now, there's some good stuff in there. And then the second one is more about the society we live in. So the Matrix is a profound commentary on the world that we think is real. And what the filmmakers are really saying, the Wachowski brothers, is that, well, maybe it's not real. We're all living in the Matrix. And the movie's designed to help us start realizing that. It was made in 1999, so they set it in that world, and they make us question that entire reality through the movie and say, well, what is this Matrix we live in? What is this construct of society that everyone is so bound into and believes? And it's demonstrated quite well, in the movie. So you remember, he's a software programmer, and he's working in this high-rise building, and he's told very clearly, you need to fall in line, otherwise, you're going to lose your job. But he's trying to escape that system. So I said, well, there's something else going on here. There's something that's fundamentally wrong with the world. And he's been asking that question all his life. What is the Matrix? And then these people who represent the Holy Spirit, Trinity, and Morpheus. The names tell you everything. Morpheus is the God of transformation. It's about change and transformation. Trinity refers to the Holy Trinity. Come into his life and say, actually, we know where you're at. We know you're searching for the answer, and we'll show you the answer. We'll help you escape from this Matrix. Brilliant movie. It's possibly the best movie ever made, but just because of the themes that it contains. It's the hero's journey of one person's awakening. That's Neo's journey. But then there's also this really profound commentary on the social construct that we live in. And it's just getting us to question, okay, well, what is this world that we live in? In a way that, other movies just don't. So brilliant movie. And, it's going to be our movie study tomorrow. So I'll suggest you watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because there is so much depth, and even if you've seen it before, what I find is there's always something else that reveals itself, and it's in itself it's a teaching on the Matrix life like reality of this world. It makes us aware of it again when you watch something like, okay, yeah, maybe I'm just plugged into the Matrix, and it's all this holographic simulation, and I think it's real. But as Morpheus says, how do you know it's real? How do you know these aren't just electrical impulses going into your brain, and you caught up in this construct that seems to be real, but actually isn't? That's the question that gets us to ask and consider in a way that most movies don't. It was based on Advaita Vedanta, which is the Eastern equivalent of the Course. The Wachowski brothers had studied that. So they put those principles into it. And amazing movie. There's no doubt that was spirit coming into the world in a very profound way through the movie to help people to awaken. And then many people, their awakening has been facilitated by the movie. There's a whole kind of cult following of people who are like, okay, what does it really mean? What's the deeper meaning? What is it really saying? And that it's ongoing to this day, even though the movies are now many years old. There were 3 of them, and they made a follow-up, but none of them have had the same power as the first one, because the first one has this hero's journey of awakening, and it has this profound commentary, and it's totally original. You're like halfway through the movie, it's a third of the way through the movie, when Neo comes out of his pod, and you go, okay, that was a bit left field. I didn't see that coming at all. It's one of those movies where you just didn't see it coming. You had no idea. And that's quite rare. So yeah, watch both of those. If you haven't watched the second one, it's also worth watching.
I'll watch that again, that second one, yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen the first one this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then these are all just reminders. They're just there to remind us of
do need a reminder.
truth of the world, of what's actually happening in this world. Okay, so that brings us to our live session. Let's have a look today then at today's lesson. This is workbook. Let's go into workbook lesson 12. We're on to. So I'm upset because I see a meaningless world, or I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world would be the alternative. I perceive. We're really talking about our entire perception. So it's not just visual, it's everything that comes into perception. That's all of our senses. And perception brings in the idea of an interpretation. It's not just the physical senses, it's how we interpret the physical senses. So it's a seemingly minor change, but it's quite a big change because that I perceive a meaningless world is very much puts it into the domain of our perception. And then this was something you sent me actually. So if you want to just read that, that's what's on that second slide.
Yeah. The world definitely appears to be a frightening world, a sad world, a violent world, an insane world, a dangerous world, a hostile world, a wicked world, and a crazy world. And that seems to be precisely what is upsetting us. And then underneath they've got these little pictures. What are we secretly looking at? This lady here with the loveliness of sin, specialness, or you've got a couple here, the delicate appeal of guilt, and then there's two
So that's the
masks.
special relationship.
And then you've got two masks here, the holy waxen image of death, or you've got a lady that's in deep thought, and the fear of vengeance of the ego you swore in blood not to desert. And then at the bottom here, you want your images to be glued to the world, part of the world, so that God cannot write his word there. What if God wrote, "This is not real, come home"? And all of your friends, your protectors, and your home will vanish. Nothing that you remember now will you remember. And this makes you upset.
Hmm. Yeah. So that slide's quite a nice summary of the lesson, actually. So what he's saying to us. So why are you really upset? You're upset actually because all of it's meaningless, and on a level you know it's meaningless. The ego knows it's meaningless, but it tries to make meaning out of the meaningless, and then it's continuously getting upset because there is no meaning. And the meaning that it gives it is so temporary and so illusory that it changes all the time. So the loveliness of sin or specialness, that's a great image. So the whole, glamour, social media, people taking selfies, because I'm the special one. But that makes me sinful because I've decided to separate from my true self, which knows that it's one with everyone and everything. Doesn't know about specialness. So, as we talked about Donald Trump, someone like that, or celebrities, apparently they're, successful and they're got all this fame and adulation and money and power, but they're dealing with the sin that underlies that, and that's why a lot of them, have very happy lives. The dramas of celebrities are well known. A lot of pain, suffering, addictions, because they're not happy in themselves, and then they turn to substances or special relationships or something to find that, instead of really looking at the construct of the ego and saying, well, this is the problem. I have a fundamental problem in that I believe in a special self that doesn't exist, and that affects my entire life, my perceptions. That's my problem. I need to let go of that. Okay, so the course then takes us through a little exercise here. Let's read it, and then we'll go into the exercise, which kicks off in paragraph 3. But read the first couple first. So we're clear on what we're doing.
The importance of this idea lies in the fact that it contains a correction for a major perceptual distortion. You think what upsets you is a frightening world, or a sad world, or a violent world, or an insane world. All these attributes are given it by you. The world is meaningless in itself.
Yeah. So what's he saying there?
Well, we're the ones that are giving it meaning, but it's not. It's meaningless. Everything out there is meaningless. We're giving it all the meaning it has for us.
And then we get upset by it, which is insane. But we've given it this meaning, and we've given it the meaning that allows it to upset us, which is crazy. Why would you give it a meaning that's upsetting? Doesn't make any sense. So I think I see whatever the world that you perceive out there, a fearful world, a dangerous world, a hostile world, a sad world, a wicked world, a crazy world, whatever descriptive terms come to you. But he's saying just include them all, whether it's a good world or a satisfying world, or a bad world, a dangerous world, a wicked world. Doesn't really matter. All the terms that cross your mind are suitable subjects for today's exercises. And seeming quality doesn't matter. You understand why?
Mm.
Because they're all illusory. You know, whether it's good or it's bad,
Mm.
it's part of an illusion. Actually, none of it's real. The images, so think of it this way. If these are just images projected onto a screen and you're watching the images, none of those images are real. So whatever you judge in the images, you say, well, that image is good, that image is bad, that one's fearful, that one's dangerous. It doesn't matter because they're all illusory. The images aren't real. This is where the Course is coming from. So the only judgment of the Holy Spirit is that none of the images are true or real, and only what underlies them, which is the screen onto which they projected, that's the screen of your true awareness. Only that's real. That's reality, and the images have no reality at all. And that's the right-minded judgment of the Holy Spirit of all of this. And this is where he starts. These lessons are the beginning part of that undoing of our attempt to make meaning and reality of the images projected onto the screen, when in fact none of them mean anything. And these early lessons are the start of that undoing process, and the start of helping us to see that none of the images mean anything. Only the underlying screen onto which they projected has any meaning. That's truth. That's pure formless awareness of perfect love. That's God. That's heaven. That's true reality, whatever you want to call it. And the images just cover that over. And that's the only purpose of the images, is to cover that over so that you're not aware of the underlying screen. And then you get caught up in the images and you're believing in that. And now your mind is all over the place. You've got various thoughts and emotions going on, which cover over the screen awareness, which is just pure formless awareness of perfect love. And now you're in this false thought system of a separate self, and all of the thoughts and emotions that characterize it, which keeps you away from this deeper awareness. And the way out of this is to say, well, none of it means anything, right? None of the images mean anything, because if they don't mean anything, then the screen onto which they projected starts coming into my awareness, which is what we want. So we want to move our awareness, our attention from the images to the background, which is the screen. Does that make sense?
It does.
And then finally, we repeat the lesson for the purposes of these exercises. What you think is pleasant or unpleasant, painful or pleasurable, you got to realize there's no difference between them, because they're all images. They're all in the same order of reality. It does take a long time to get one's mind around this, but this is the start of it. And then he's saying, but I'm only upset because I perceive a meaningless world. I'm seeing that these images are real and meaningful when actually they're not. And I'm upset because I give them a reality they don't have. So I'm upset because I'm seeing or perceiving a meaningless world. And I'm deceiving myself. If I'm honest about it, I'm deceiving myself. If I give these images meaning and reality, it's a self-deception of epic proportions. Deceive myself about what's real. I'm now playing this game of being a separate self and being upset in some way, but it's just a game because actually I've invented all this and none of it's true and none of it's real. Okay, and then just number 5, because there's some stuff there, and we'll go into the practice of it. So if you can read
In the
number
alternative,
5 in the alternative. All right, Word of God just becomes the message of perfect love. That's the only translation,
yeah.
really, of any there.
What is meaningless is neither good nor bad. Why then should why should a meaningless world upset you? If you could accept the world as meaningless and let the truth be written upon it for you, it would make you indescribably happy. But because it is meaningless, you are impelled to write upon it what you would have it be. It is this you perceive in it. It is this that is meaningless in truth. Beneath your words is written the message of perfect love. Truth upsets you now, but when your message have been erased, you will understand its. That is the ultimate purpose of these exercises.
Yes, makes sense.
Yeah. Yes.
So you have to clean your mind of all the images. If the images dominate your mind, then the screen is obscured, and that's the purpose of the images. You don't see the screen. In a movie, you go and you watch a movie. How many people are even aware of the screen? They're not, are they? Because
No.
you're looking at the
No.
images and it's the story, but actually you're just staring at a screen with images being projected onto it. And when the images are gone, then the screen remains. That's the permanent reality. The images were never real. They just come and go and shift and change. But we get caught up in the images because we give meaning to them, and then that meaning becomes a story. And then we get attached to the story. And everyone's attached to the story of me as an image in the dream, as a separate self and character in the dream. And that story becomes their life. That's their identity, that's their life, and none of it's true. It's mind-blowing, really, when you really look at it. This is the matrix we're in.
Mm.
Just a totally radically different perception of reality that any of these lessons give you.
Mm. Yeah.
Any one of these
Well,
lessons fully learned will help you escape the matrix, see it for what it is, and realize that the matrix, the images, just aren't true. They never were true. They're all made up. And the only thing that's true is your true awareness, which is the screen onto which the images are projected, and they cover over that awareness. That's their entire purpose. It's the only reason we invented them, was to cover over our fundamental awareness, which we denied. And so we have to invent all these images to perpetuate that illusion and keep doing it. And now suddenly life starts to make sense. When you understand that this is actually what's going on, it gives you understanding of well, this is why my life is the way it is. This is why the world is the way it is. This is why it doesn't work. I'm starting to get it. Starting to make some sense now.
So, yeah, so for example, I've just seen my cat just walking across the room there, and I'm sort of, because I'm giving it a label, cat amber, I'm giving it the projection, but if I just allow it just to happen, then she's just another little energy walking past in my life. But because we've given her a label and a name and a character,
Yeah.
she's part of that matrix. Whereas if I just allowed it to just, for it to
Yeah,
just glance, just walking back gracefully along there, and just another
it's
image.
another image in a dream. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah,
The image is moving because that's what seems to happen. It's a moving picture show, like a movie, just happening in 3D. You know,
yeah,
it's a very seductive and difficult movie to escape from because it's happening in 3 dimensions.
yeah.
It's
It
not
is.
flat. Is that okay? So, and you appear to be a character in the movie,
Yes.
even more
Well,
difficult to escape from.
I'm the
You
cat.
now
So
one of these images on the screen, and you're seeing the other images, and your image, which is your self-concept, sees them as real.
hmm,
And as Yeshua says in lesson 15, but images can't really see. You think you're
yeah,
seeing and perceiving reality, but your image, this false self projected onto the screen, can't really see anything. The
hmm,
mind that believes that it's really seeing something that's real is false. That's the ego. It's got caught up in the belief in separation to such a degree that it's believing that the image that it's now projected out and has attached itself to the body, it's believing that that's its identity and that's real.
yes. So I get what you're saying there, but then obviously it's my responsibility now to feed that cat and water the cat.
Hmm. But you don't have to do that from any sense of attachment to the image. It's like, well, that cat is the same as me. That cat is pure awareness, really.
Hmm,
She's not really a cat. The
yeah,
form of a cat isn't real at all. The essence, the very essence, the fundamental awareness beyond the image, beyond the cat's seeming identity as a cat, any projection onto that cat that I make. Oh, this is the cat called Amber. That's entirely your own creation. You see that? You've made that name
oh yeah,
up.
yeah, oh yes, yes.
And this is what we do. And then we give the cat an identity, and it's my Amber, it's my cat. And
With
now
all the
the separate
labels I've
self,
given it. Yeah, I can
yeah,
see
now the
that.
separate self is attached to that cat because that cat is part of the separate self's identity and the
Yeah,
separate self's life and world. And then,
when
of
it,
course, if the cat goes, then that
yeah,
separate
well then
self
there's the grief.
suffers.
Yeah,
And there's a grief because this image that I attached to and I made part of my reality and my identity is now gone. And now I feel like part of my identity is gone. This is
mm,
why people suffer when things inevitably go. You know,
of
the
course,
cat will die or the cat will leave, as cats sometimes do, but at some point the cat's not going to be there
of
in
course, yeah,
your in your
yeah,
in your in your reality. And then the more attached you are to the cat as part of your identity, the more you're going to suffer.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
you can still care for the cat. You can, in fact, be very loving and kind because you recognize the cat as you. This is my own true awareness. So
yes,
I'm being kind to myself, but I have no attachment to the form of the cat because that's not true. That's not real.
mm, yeah, yes,
And that's the enlightened perspective on the cat. So unconditional love just sees the cat as you. You are the cat. You completely see that, identify with that, and there's no sense of a separate self. So you are not a separate being from the cat. The cat isn't separate from you, although the cat seems to have a form. That's just illusory. That's just an image projected onto the screen.
yes,
Actually, the only reality is the screen. You and the cat are the same in the screen, one screen. And there's no distinction in the screen.
hmm,
Your screen is not different from the cat's screen, you see? Your awareness is not different from the cat's awareness. It's the same awareness.
yeah. Was
And
just
that's unconditional love. When we fully understand this, then we unconditionally love whatever it is that we perceive through this filter. Okay, you unconditionally love the cat when you don't perceive her as a cat anymore. And you
yeah, because
perceive
I've
that she's
given her a
pure
label.
awareness.
Well,
Yeah,
like I'm sitting in my 3D living room, and most of the stuff is just not moving. But then occasionally a cat will come in, or a husband will come in, or the
yeah,
dog will twitch its nose, and then another cat will come. So there's just some light movement going on, but most of it's all objects. But again,
yeah,
I shouldn't be giving them labels. It's just I'm sitting in with sort of a picture. Really, it's a picture.
yeah. And obviously, from a practical point of view, we have language, for these things so we can talk about them and discuss them. But in your mind, you don't have to label them. You don't have to go, oh, well, there's, my couch, and I've been with that 30 years, and that's got a whole story. You don't have to do that.
No.
You see it as all just images, right? You're looking out from an image, which is your body, onto other images, and you're caught up in a holographic dream world in these images that seem to be real, but they're not. Because actually the
No.
only thing that's real is the pure awareness that underlies them. And if you can penetrate through to that awareness while all these images are seemingly going on, then that's awakening, that's enlightenment. Okay, I'm fine because I'm just in the screen awareness, which is very
Well, we're
peaceful.
just all part of one, aren't we? We're just, the
It's the
chair and
same
the
awareness.
table, the cat. Yeah,
So
we're all
underlying all of this, there is only one awareness. And the cat is that awareness, and you're that awareness.
the
And that
chair.
awareness underlies the table and the chair. Yeah, because it's a screen, right? Think of it this way. The image of the table is projected onto the screen.
Yeah,
So what underlies the table is the screen, yeah? Otherwise,
yeah.
the table could
Which
have
is
no
the
reality,
awareness. Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is awareness. So when you perceive the screen rather than the table, then you're perceiving from your right mind, your true awareness, to the true reality of the table, which isn't form.
Mm.
It takes when we start with these mind training exercises, it's difficult because we don't see it this way when we start.
Well, yeah, because
We,
we've
we
been
we
born
perceive
in
the
a
table
different
as real, and
structure.
then he says, "But this table isn't real. This table isn't real. This chair isn't real. Nothing I see means anything." Lesson number
Like
one.
the
Why
Matrix.
not? Because it's a matrix. It's a projection of your own mind.
Yeah,
How do you even know that that table is there?
yeah, because
Your
there's a
senses
scene.
tell you it's there, but how do you know that that's reality? You don't really.
No,
This is
no.
the premise of the matrix. You don't know it's reality. Your mind tells you it's reality. Your senses tell you it's reality, but maybe that's all part of the setup. You literally jacked into the matrix, and the matrix is telling you that all this stuff is real because that's what it's designed to do.
Mm,
But actually, there's just pure awareness that in which none of this stuff's real, and
mm.
that's the reality,
Yeah. Well,
and
that's
that's
all
what
we
we
are is
go to.
awareness, and just things are just popping up from it, aren't they? We're all oneness in this awareness, and then things are just appearing, whether it's good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. It's all the same, isn't it?
It's all just images that cover over this awareness. So when I had that epiphany I told you
Mm,
about after 9 days of meditation, it was so
mm,
clear to me that this is just a construct of my mind. But I've invented these images to cover over this deeper awareness.
mm,
And that's what the purpose of the world is. We made it up because we wanted to be a separate self. And so we had to invent all these images and project them out of our mind so that we could believe that we really are a separate self with a separate identity and a body. And that's what we've done. We've made it all up. And when I understood that, I actually cried. I was like, that's just devastating. Why would I do such a stupid thing when I
And
could have this pristine awareness that I just
all
been in?
along,
And that could be my permanent, eternal reality, uh, into which, there's no problem there. It's just perfect. Why would
yeah,
I then go and miscreate a bunch of images and a self-concept that's hugely problematic and stressful and difficult, and then all these challenges and pain and suffering, and then I die? Why would I do that when I could have this pure awareness? It didn't
mm,
make any sense to me.
yeah.
Well, I was like, how could I have been so stupid and so insane?
Well, I mean, I haven't had the events that a lot of people, this awakening event, but I get what you're saying. Yes,
Hmm.
mine's just been a drip, drip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for years that experience came after many, many, many years of spiritual practice and 9 days
Oh,
of
yes, yeah.
intense meditation. So,
You
it
don't need to
happened
have the
once you're
event.
ready. I
The
was ready to have that experience at that point. And,
Yeah,
it'll happen for you when you're ready
yeah.
for it to happen. But then it just all dropped. It suddenly, the entire course made sense. And I was like, oh, I get it. Finally,
Mm, mm.
the clarity came because I had had that experience. And
I
then
sort of
the Holy
really,
Spirit was able to
yeah.
interpret it, and was like, suddenly all this teaching dropped. And I was like, oh, I get it. That's why it's called a veil of illusion.
Mm,
We've
mm.
made it all up. We've made up these images. We've given them a reality they don't have. and now our separate self is addicted to those images. And we try and make those images dance and perform in ways we want them to. We try and manipulate,
That's
control
why
them,
we
meet the
get suffering.
desires and allay the fears of our separate self. And that then becomes our life in this illusory world. We dedicate our time and energy to that, which is just crazy. That's what and instead we could just have pure awareness that's absolutely perfect. And there's no need to do any of that. You don't need to try and make the images conform to your expectations and then get upset when they don't. And none of that is necessary if you're just in your true awareness. It just is. It's pristine, it's pure, it's beautiful, it's holy. You know, all these descriptions don't really do it justice, but it just is. It's a reality that you don't need to defend and manipulate and try and control, and it's not going to ever disappoint you or hurt you in any way. It just is. And you know, this is what Yeshua's offering to us and saying, well, that is actually available to you if you choose for that to be your reality. You could have that as your reality forever, permanently, eternally, if you choose. But you have to choose then for that and choose against the ego. You can't believe in the images and also believe in this underlying screen awareness, in that reality. The two contradict each other. So you have to choose between them. And that's what we're doing with these lessons, with all the mind training. It's a simple choice for the one reality over the other.
Yeah.
Okay. So very, very profound. I mean, these are simple lessons. They're not long, complicated, but very profound. I mean, we've had a half-an-hour discussion almost on the metaphysics of this lesson.
Well,
it takes you into the the ultimate truth of well, who am I and what is the world, and what is this matrix that's going on. And that's why I love this course, because the simple lessons just unlock this really, really deep understanding.
And each
If
time
you
you
really
do it,
understand this lesson, then you awaken. I'm upset because I see a meaningless world, and you get it. You've awoken if you fully understand this lesson.
well, yes, I do understand it, but it's putting it into practice.
Yeah, well, that's why we need the test. So, okay, yeah, theoretically, when everything's going nicely and smoothly, I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. When I'm not upset, that's fine. I get that. I understand conceptually, intellectually, I get it. But then, when something comes along to trigger you and tempt you to become upset, can you remember the lesson? And you go, well, I'm
That's the
just
big
upset
one.
because I perceive a
Yes.
meaningless world.
Which at
And that's
times,
why,
the practices has helped, but there's still occasions where you get caught off guard. Yeah.
And so that's the lesson. Okay, well, apply this without exception to every situation.
Yes.
And that's why we're still here, because in this world we get those lessons repeatedly so that we can learn to completely detach from the ego and identify only with the spirit and actually live these words. I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. Well, the moment you realize that, the upset's over. You can let go of the upset then, because you're realizing the truth of what you're doing to yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. A really, really profound lesson, really deep. And these early lessons, that's why, we go back to them, because these early lessons have this they can take us to the whole truth. They're very deep, very profound, and so simple. What I love, the genius of this course is it's so simple.
It is.
He's giving you this profound lesson in a few words. I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. That's what, less than 10 words?
Yeah.
Something like that. 10 words.
So simple, but yet it's.
In 10 words, practiced correctly, as he's guiding us to in the lesson, you can awaken to the truth of who you are and what the matrix is, and see beyond all that and start awakening. This one lesson could take you all the way home to God.
But it's working through your shadow work, isn't it, though? Your guilt, your whatever it is, jealousy or whatever it is that you've got. Your shadow work is Is well, is what's
Well, this is where he
basically.
meets us. You know, he's saying, okay, so you're upset. That's your shadow. You're upset. But why are you upset? Because I perceive a meaningless world. So reinterpret the upset. Start seeing the upset differently instead of blaming someone or something else outside of you, as you normally do. Go, oh, I'm
Well,
actually
but
upset
it
because I
depends.
perceive a meaningless world.
Say somebody's, like a child's had a very abusive, traumatic childhood, then they'll have a little bit more shadow work to do. Or are you saying that even they could just do it in one fell swoop, like someone who's had a very loving, caring childhood and very secure, as opposed to the traumatic, abused child? You would have thought the
Oh,
abused child would have more shadow
the
work
the
to do.
well, maybe, but it also gives that child the opportunity to awaken through that.
Hmm.
So, a good example, Ramana Maharshi. I don't know what his whole childhood was like, but his father died when he was 12, I think, so that would have been quite traumatic.
Hmm.
Parent being lost as a child is a major childhood trauma. So there's this trauma there, but he awakens through the trauma. A few years later, he's 16, and he goes into this intense fear of death. He's thinking about his father and the death of his father, and then this all brings up this intense fear of, well, I'm going to die, and you know,
Hmm.
but he was able to zoom out of it and just become aware that what was fearing wasn't him. There was a transcendent self who was able to observe all of that and not be attached to it. And so through that experience and through the trauma, he awoke.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that was his last major lesson of his lifetime. He just collapsed all of that intense fear, realized there really was only this transcendent self. That was the only reality. And then he was able to remain in that self for the rest of his life and just, live out of that beingness, that true self, the Christ.
Hmm.
Because he'd realized it, and the trauma had taken him to that realization. So there's a good example of, trauma awakening someone to the highest
Hmm.
level. Now that is maybe quite rare. Maybe that's only going to happen 1 in a million times that someone fully awakens through a
I've
trauma.
had.
But nevertheless, the principle's the same. Whatever the trauma was in your childhood, your opportunity is there to fully let it go and awaken because of it. And so the trauma is a great gift. That's the way we've got to perceive things.
Hmm.
Okay. So I hope does that answer the question?
Yeah. Hmm.
All right. So shall we practice this then?
Yes.
Um, got 25 minutes to do a meditation. So I'll take you into the meditation. We'll go into a nice space. Then we'll practice it with your internal world, internal thoughts, and we'll practice it as you come out of the meditation externally as well. So taking it a bit deeper here, he's saying just do it externally. I'm going to say, okay, do it internally. So whatever is going on in your mind, look on those and then apply the lesson. Say, well, I think based on what I'm thinking about, I think I'm perceiving a fearful world or a crazy world or an insane world or a challenging world or a hostile world or whatever it is, whatever labels come to mind and apply it with those experiences. So you could go and do a reflection on what the events of yesterday and use those events to then stimulate whatever judgments came up. Okay, so what were you thinking yesterday? Oh my God, this is crazy. I think I see a crazy world. Oh my God, I think I see a really difficult or dangerous world or a challenging world,
Hmm.
and so on. A world that's against me. I think I'm a victim of the world. Use that experience to do the exercise.
Yeah.
Then we'll do it on the external as well, where you look around and you're just seeing what's outside of you. But the internal work is almost more powerful because you're really going into your stuff that's generating these misperceptions. Okay, so let's do the
Hmm.
med then, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, so just making yourself comfortable, sitting with your feet shoulder width apart. your back straight. You cup your hands in your lap. Close your eyes. And you start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Pausing at the top of the inhale. Scan your mind. So you're just going to scan your thoughts. Think about the situation that's in your mind at the moment, any kind of problem. Mentioned you had problems yesterday. Maybe what's going on right now in your world. So look on those thoughts. Breathing in again to top yourself up with air. Inviting spirit to come in and give you a higher level view of this. Say, well, what I think I perceive a fearful world, or maybe it's a dangerous world, or a challenging world, a difficult world, a hostile world, a very sad world, a depressing world, an evil world, a crazy world. Use whatever descriptive terms happen to occur to you, including positive ones. So terms that are positive, like, oh, I think it's a really exciting world, or it's a good world, or it's a world of lots of opportunity, satisfying world. Include those thoughts. Just use them alongside the rest. You may not yet understand why these quite nice adjectives belong in these exercises, but remember that a good world also implies a bad one, and a satisfying world implies an unsatisfying one. All the terms which cross your mind are suitable subjects for the exercises. Breathe in again to all of this and just inviting a presence of light. You can visualize light coming in if you like. Breathing it in to every pore, every cell, every muscle of your body, particularly if there are any areas in your body that feel difficult, tight, contracted, constricted. Just breathe the air into those. Nice. Deep breath in. Pause. Realize now the correction behind all of these is to say, I'm really upset. My peace is disturbed. In other words, my equilibrium is upset because I see or perceive a meaningless world. I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. Say that very clearly. Exhale. And just blow all of this out. Imagine it's like a dark cloud or a black smoke. Just leaving you. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just rest in peace and stillness. There's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do. Nothing else to think about. Just find deep peace and stillness that underlie the meaningless world that you perceive. So underneath the images that you projected on to your pure awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love, is the screen onto which we've projected all these images of a meaningless world. And underneath the images, the screen is still there. It's never actually gone anywhere. The only reason that we can project anything is because there's an underlying awareness that gives us the awareness, the life, the existence to be able to then miscreate. So underneath all these images and all the false ideas and self-concepts we've invented is still the truth. And just rest in this screen awareness, I call it, in this very, very peaceful, calm state. There's no thought required. It's just resting in the underlying being that you are. It doesn't need thought to be anything. It doesn't need thought for its existence. It just is. You can just become aware of it. Rest in it. That's all we're being asked to do, to awaken to who we are. Just rest in your true being. And as you start to think again, so just rest in this awareness, breathing in and out through your nose. Observe the breath flowing into the nostrils subtly and then out of the nostrils subtly. Sinking inwards, going deeper and deeper with each breath into the still calm, quiet space in your mind. The screen awareness, which is your true awareness, which is love, which is light. Language doesn't really do it justice. It's just a pure experience. So try for a couple of minutes just to fully enter into that experience. There's nothing else going on in your mind, no other thoughts, feelings, emotions, sensations need to come. So just focus on your breath to help you clear your mind. Just being aware of the breath flowing into the nostrils and then out of the nostrils. Just breathing in and out, going deeper and deeper. Any thoughts come up, just notice them. Like today's lesson again and say, well, I think I perceive a fearful world or an angry world or dangerous world or crazy world or whatever it is that comes to mind. Describe it however. Breathe in. But remind yourself of the truth that I am upset because I perceive a meaningless world. I'm only ever upset because actually none of this has any meaning. And underneath the meaning that I've given all these images lies the truth. Says the word of God or the message of perfect love underlies this. So exhale, blow these thoughts away like dark clouds, just blow them away with the breeze of your breath and just try and rest in the screen or in the sky. That's another analogy you can use. Instead of being in the awareness of the clouds that are dense and foggy and you can't see, you're just in this clear blue sky, and it's open, it's expansive, it's light, spacious awareness. There's no limitation to it. You're just free floating in the sky of your true awareness. And do that for another 2 or 3 minutes of deep silence. And just gently coming back now on this very deep, restful awareness, and bring your attention back into the body via the breath. Be aware of the sensations of the breath. On the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. 1, breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And you pause at the top of the inhale. Again, scan your mind, do the exercise one more time internally. So whatever's going on in your mind, I think I perceive a dangerous world or a crazy world or a fearful world. Whatever label you apply to it, good or bad, doesn't really matter. Remind yourself of the simple truth of the lesson, but I'm upset because I see a meaningless world. Upset because I'm perceiving a meaningless world. Count of 2, exhale. Just drop all of this, blow it out like a dark cloud or black smoke. It's leaving you gone. Pull the low stomach into the spine, expel the last remaining air out. And you just rest in this deep peace and stillness. Nothing else to go, nothing else to do. Just to think about, you just connect with this really deep peace, anchor the state in. Anchor the state in, and let it carry you into the rest of your evening, on into your weekend. Set that intention. So it is said, so it is done. Now on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So you can look around and let let's do a little 1-minute practice of the lesson in its external form, as the lesson suggests. So look around you quite slowly, just pace yourself. So slow shifting of your glance from one thing to another is fairly constant. You're not rushing. There's no dwelling on anything or rushing anything. Remind yourself that what you're seeing doesn't matter. Teach yourself this as you give whatever your glance rests on equal attention and equal time. It's a beginning step in learning to give them all equal value. So as you look about you, whatever happens to be there indiscriminately, just say to yourself, I think I see, I think I perceive a fearful world, or a dangerous world, or a hostile world, or a sad world, or a wicked world, or a crazy world, or any adjectives that come to your mind. These could be positive or negative. You might think of a good world, or a satisfying world, or an exciting world. Those terms come to you, just use them. And you start realizing that whether they're good or bad doesn't really matter, because it's the same order of reality. The images that you're seeing simply aren't real. So whether you judge them as good or bad doesn't give them any more reality. They're simply images in a dream. Be sure that you don't alter the time intervals between applying the idea today to what you think is pleasant, what you think is unpleasant. Whatever you're looking at, just say, oh, I think I'm seeing this kind of a world. Whatever adjective comes up based on what you're looking at. Do that for another, say, 30 seconds. Just looking around, noticing whatever comes. Is very much about self-awareness, self-inquiry. And then at the end, just remind yourself that there's no difference between what I'm seeing. These are just all images in a dream. Whether I see them as good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant, painful or pleasurable, doesn't really matter. They're just images in a dream. So remind yourself at the end of the practice, period. But I'm upset because I see or perceive a meaningless world. Who's perceive, actually? Because perception brings us into the domain of interpretation. It's not so much what you see with your body's eyes. It's the interpretation of what you see, just perception. That's the problem. So I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world, not because of the world itself, but because of my perception of it. So now you're reminding yourself that actually your perception is within your control. It's how you choose to perceive things that is the problem, or not the problem. As David Hofmeister says, we have a perceptual problem. We're perceiving the world that is meaningless as meaningful and real, and then we suffer accordingly. Struggle, we suffer because we've given it a meaning it doesn't have. And the answer to the problem is to correct the perceptual distortion. So, but actually, I'm just perceiving a meaningless world here. None of these things are real. So why am I giving them a meaning and getting upset by them? Giving them a meaning when I get upset. Why am I doing that to myself? I'm only upset because I perceive a meaningless world. Exhale on the truth of that. Drop into the truth of that. Notice how restful and peaceful you feel when you speak these words of truth. This is the peace of God, as the Bible calls it, that surpasses all understanding. It's not the understanding of the ego that's going to bring you that peace. It's the letting go of the ego's understanding that's going to bring you that peace. So just connect with this peace, feel it deeply, anchor it in. You're going to stay in this very, very peaceful state the rest of the evening and on into your weekend. Set that intention. So it is said, so it is done. To help you, if you find yourself getting upset by anything, just practice the lesson. I've sent you a short recording, 4 minutes, to guide you through it, or you can just remind yourself as you look around, I think I'm seeing this kind of a world, label it, and then remind yourself, but I'm upset because I perceive a meaningless world. You can do that in under a minute. Also giving you some verbal instructions to do that in the email as well as in your text message, Telegram. Okay, so I wish you good practicing, Elaine, and much peace and love and joy.
Thank you very much.
Have a good weekend, and
You too.
I'll see you on Monday. If you can join Monday evening, I
Yeah.
get Dawn to join. Maybe we could just spend 10 minutes doing naming the game, giving
Right.
her some feedback. You don't have to do it, just give her the feedback. That'll be
Yeah.
great. So she
Yeah.
can get something out of the exercise. Yeah. So can you join on Monday?
Yeah.
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 Should we say 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock's good. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she can maybe only join later, but we'll do her stuff when she comes along, so we can do
Yeah.
our expression on
Okay.
in the beginning.
Yeah, that would be good.
All right. Okay.
Okay.
See you then.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Have a
Have a
nice
nice weekend.
weekend. Yeah. Bye.
Stay.
Namaste. Oops.
Bye for now. Okay, so that is a wrap for today. Thank you to Elaine for joining the session. Thank you to you if you joined on the live stream or you're watching this on a recording. A couple of things you can do to take this further. Why not subscribe to the channel? You'll be notified whenever I go live, just 3 or 4 times a week. About to go on a major kind of marketing drive to get more people into this. So you'll also be privy to the videos that I share in that regard. You can also go to lifepool.com and join us in the Telegram group I just mentioned. Send out a daily quote and some comments on that, as well as mind training lesson from A Course in Miracles and a short breath break and a meditation on that. You can join all of that if you go to lifepool.com and sign up to the Telegram group. You'll get all of that free of charge, including invitations to join these live sessions in Zoom, which you can do for 3 weeks at no charge. So check it out and do that if you feel so inspired. Take another step towards your awakening and away from the ego. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching or listening, and wishing you a very peaceful evening and a weekend ahead if you're watching this live, or day ahead, or whenever you're watching this. So thanks again, and namaste, which means the peaceful, awakened self in me acknowledges and honors that same peaceful, awake self in you.